Welcome to the circuit of Catalunya here in Barcelona, where we're literally just experiencing the end of a rain shower prior to the final race in an epic season of the International GT Open. Currently leading the championship by 8 points, it's Federico Leo and Jimmy Bruni. From second position, Barber and Magliocelli. And in third, with another 7-point deficit, it's Nick Tandy and Marco Holzer, who experienced a difficult time in the first race here after a mechanical problem. Meant that they had to retire from the race. Now, if we just come across here, we can join at Nick to find out if things have been sorted overnight. Nick, a difficult time for you guys yesterday. Very disappointing to see that you were unable to finish. What was the problem?
We had a failure in the transmission. It looked like the drive shaft. It's just one of those things that you can never plan for. You life the parts so that, it's just one of those things that broke, unfortunately. It put us out of the race, but we're still in the championship.
You are?
All we can do today is try and win the race, hope that things go our way otherwise, and keep our fingers crossed.
And of course, we've just seen a rain shower, meaning the track's now greasy. How does that affect you guys? I know tyre choice and rain affects the cars differently.
For us, if the track stayed wet or greasy, it'd be really good. The Porsche gets the heat in the tyres really quickly. It's one of the things that we are strong at. On a hot day, it's our weakness, but on a day like this, it's one of our strengths. But we've got a little while left to go before the race. I think it will probably dry out if the sun comes out.
Well, if we see you on the grid doing a rain dance, we know why.
You probably will do.
Thanks, Nick. Enjoy the race. Good luck. And of course, there is still the championship to be decided in the GTS as well, where currently Daniel Zampieri and his teammate Michael Della Stella are leading from Bizzarri, and in third, it's Mapelli and Hamilton. And I caught up with Archie Hamilton to see how he's feeling prior to the race. Archie, this really is racing down to the wire.
Yeah, I mean, it's come down to the last race, but I don't think we can actually win the championship after yesterday's first lap incident, but we've got third, and we're just going to push on and try and get second, and we'll see what happens.
For you, this season coming to an end, what's your plans for next year?
I'd love to do Le Mans. It's the 60th anniversary of my grandfather winning Le Mans, so it'd be fantastic to do it. And I think next year I'm going to move to Le Mans Series, most likely, after challenging for the title here. I think it'd be good to move on to there, and hopefully exciting plans for the future.
And of course, this championship's helped you prepare for that step.
It has. It's been fantastic, and it's a brilliant championship. That goes to fantastic circuit, so fingers crossed that we can get a deal sorted soon for next year.
here is Archie Hamilton's car with his teammate Marco Mappelli ready to start the race. And in front of him here, we've got the strong force of the Ferraris from Kessel Racing. Kessel Racing, a hugely famous race team run by Ronnie Kessel, of course, taking over from his late father. And you can see they've got so many cars out on this grid. They run a total of 51 race cars across different championships. It's quite something. And then, of course, we're moving forward to the front runners. This is where the championship will be decided. And we come down and see some, again, spectacular cars, and they're so closely lined up on the grid. That's the one thing to notice. The difference between the single-seater racing and GT racing is how close these cars are as they grid up. And down over here, we've got the Aston Martin of Belgian drivers Maxime Martin and Bertrand Baguette. And of course, they're here this weekend proving the pace of the Aston Martin. And it's very, very strong. The two drivers over here just having a quick chat. And if we just grab Maxime for a second while he's talking to Bertrand, just having a quick pep talk with your teammate, Maxime. Having a quick chat with Bertrand. Are you guys confident you can get the double win this weekend?
Yeah, we hope, but with the weather conditions, it's not easy. It's a lottery, so we will see what's going to happen.
How does the rain affect you in the Aston?
We don't know. We never draw it, so we will see.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much. And I'll let you get back to talking to Bertrand. And of course, mentioning the weather there, it is important to realise that it has been raining in the last half an hour here. It's not been heavy rain, but it's been enough to wet the track and leave it slightly greasy. Coming down this way towards the front row of the grid, we've got a gap here. I don't know quite what's happening, but we can come to find our front runners. And on pole, it's Alvaro Barber, and just in front of him here, Nick Tandy. We spoke to Nick earlier on, and they are looking to get a good start and a good race. And remember, this race being slightly shorter of just 50 minutes I should say. They've got a lot more work to do. And let's hope that for Nick Tandy and Marco Holzer, they can do it. The championship is about to be decided for the 2012 International GT Open Championship here in Barcelona. So let's join our race commentators, Ben Evans and Duncan Tappy.
Hello everybody, and a very, very warm welcome to the Circuit de Catalunya here 20 kilometres north of Barcelona, where we in the next hour or so are going to have the 2012 International GT Open Champions crowned, and it is going to be a very, very dramatic race in prospect. We've just had a shower here about 30 minutes ago. The teams are in and out of the pits at the moment, trying to work out which tyres they're going to put on the cars for this final race of the season. 50 minutes of drama to unfold here around this legendary Circuit de Catalunya. Talking you through the action is myself, Ben Evans, alongside me, the sports car and GT racer, Duncan Tappy. And Duncan, it's been a magnificent season of racing in the International GT Open, and going to this final race of the year, we have still got 3 cars that could claim the crown.
It is. It's great, isn't it? It's testament to how competitive the championship is. There are some awesome drivers out there who had a lot of pedigree behind them. So I think we're in for a treat. Yesterday's race was pretty spectacular, so let's see whether see who will prevail.
Well, leading the championship is the AF Corse Ferrari of the former Minardi Formula 1 driver Jimmy Bruni and his co-driver, the reigning European FIA GT3 champion Federico Leon. That's the car there, number 4 to the right of your screen. Second in the championship is the car to the left of your screen. That is the Villois Racing Aston Martin of Alvaro Barber and Matteo Malicelli. And it was Barber and Malicelli who claimed victory in the first race of the weekend. That was the 70-minute race that we had yesterday. It was a race that was full of thrills, action and excitement throughout, and it saw, unfortunately, early in the race, due to mechanical failure, the demise of the Manthey Racing Porsche of Marco Holzer and Nick Tandy. They sit 3rd in the standings coming to today. They could still claim the title, but they would have to be a little bit reliant upon the misfortune of others. So the cars steadily beginning to form up on the grid. The pit lane is still open as we take a look at Marco Holzer ensconced in that Manthey Racing Porsche. He qualified the car a remarkable second, and but for that mechanical failure yesterday, then he would be in with a good chance of claiming victory. Oh, we've got drama here. The pit lane has closed as Federico Leo and Alvaro Barber try to exit the pits. They've just run out of time to get their cars onto the grid. So the cars that are first and second in the championship are going to have to start from the back of the grid. Unbelievable drama before the race is even underway here, Duncan.
That is rare. I mean, I've seen it happen a few times, but that's a really bad mistake by the teams. You know, all the hard work for the whole weekend, and they end up starting from the pit lane. Real issues there, but at least they're both in there. So.
And this, for Marco Holzer in the Manthey Racing Porsche, is an early Christmas present, because it's the pole-sitting car of Alvaro Barber. That's the black Aston Martin. And Federico Leo, the championship leading car, he was due to start in 6th position. Great to hear from Gemma Scott down there in the pit lane.
Matteo, we noticed there was a big space on the grid where your car should have been. What's happened?
I don't know, because we calculate the time from the pit lane in 10 minutes, but they closed 1 minute before, and now we are on the pit lane, and we will start for the last position. We will see. I don't know.
Thanks, Gemma. Well, we just take a glimpse there at the car that won the GTS class yesterday and is in GTS class pole today. That is the Aston Martin of the two Belgian drivers, Maxime Martin and Bertrand Baguette, a former superstar on World Series by Renault, and Martin a Megane Trophy winner. As we take a look at the starting grid, albeit with the hole in pole position where Alvaro Barber should be. Then we've got Marco Holzer in second, Juan Manuel Lopez and Rafael Gianmaria, row 2. Patrick Pilet was a superstar yesterday, astonishing drive for Pilet. He lines up in 7th, just ahead of Alexander Taukanitsa Jr. in 8th. Bernardo Souza making the switch from rallying in 9th, and then Bertrand Baguette heads the GTS runners in 10th. Maro Engel in the new for the Lapidus Racing team, Cesar Celeste also well up. Philip Petter, a little bit, well, it's actually Michael Brozanitsky who starts that car in 13th. And then Stefano Gattuso from 15th, a very quick drive, the reigning GTS champion. Michael Dallas Stella, the GTS championship leading car, down in 24th position. A lot to do for him. And watch for the car that's in 23rd. Dominic Baumann starts it, but the former Sauber Formula 1 racer, Carl Wendlinger, will take over. Mario Cordoni and Joel Camathius in the Ombra Racing car 60 went well yesterday, but as you can see, absolutely gigantic grid of cars. It's just heading off onto its formation lap now. A lot of drivers competing this weekend who we'd normally see in the French GT Championship, and of course this weekend the International GT Open doubling up as a round of the Iberian GT Championship. It gives us 39 cars taking the start of this race, Duncan, and really we can just expect action and drama throughout. It's a 50-minute race. There is a mandatory pit stop that comes from 20 minutes in the race until 30 minutes into the race, so the 10 minutes bang in the middle of the race where they all have to come in and make their driver change. And that means that essentially for each driver it's 25-minute sprint race into the pits and then another 25-minute sprint race.
Yeah, it's an endurance race effectively, but 50 minutes, 25 minutes each, it's going to be like qualifying for everyone. And that's what's so good about this kind of racing these days, is it's, you know, going hell for leather the whole time. Yeah, you'll be a little bit careful on the first few laps and nothing stupid happens, but then it's gloves off and get racing.
So in terms of the permutations for the championship, well, obviously, if Bruni and Leo in the AF Course Ferrari finish ahead of the Barbara Malicelli Aston Martin and the Tandy and Holzer Porsche, then they win the title. However, it becomes much more complicated. So Marco Holzer and Nick Tandy, who start at the very head of the field in that Porsche, and the Porsche that relishes the damp conditions, well, for them to win the title, it means that Jimmy Bruni and Federico Leo must finish in 5th position or above, and likewise Malicelli and Barber must be up there on the rostrum as well. So it could be a real twist in the tail in this championship. But that, of course, is dependent on Nick Tandy and Marco Holzer winning. They finish second, then all bets are off, and it becomes a little bit easier for their rivals to claim the title. Likewise, for Barbara Malicelli to win the crown, they need to finish, if they win the race, with the Bruni and Leo car, which we see now finishing in 3rd or worse. So lots and lots of permutations to look for. It's a rolling start, of course, in the International GT Open, and we've got the two cars in the pits, Alvaro Barber, that black Valois Aston Martin, the red Ferrari we just saw of Federico Leo, and then the car that sits all alone on the front row of the grid, the bright yellow and green Manthey Racing Porsche of Marco Holzer. There he is at the top of the screen. Those are the three cars that are all in contention for the 2012 International GT Open crown. And after yesterday's race, Nick Tandy Marcos are utterly dejected at that mechanical failure, and they surely cannot believe their luck with their main rivals starting from the pit lane at the back of a gigantic grid.
It's an astonishing thing that's happened out there, and it's really giving them a great chance to take this championship. So stay out of trouble for Holzer, and who knows what will happen.
He needs to make a good start here, because the Chevrolet Corvette lined up directly behind him has got a considerable amount of straight line speed, as does the Ferrari of Juan Manuel Lopez. So it's not a done deal that Holzer is going to lead into turn one. We're about to find out who is going to be the champion here in the International GT Open for 2012. The red lights flash green, and we go racing at the Circuit de Catalunya. It's a super start from Matt Griffin as well in the M-Tech Ferrari. The red car, the white bonnet, trying to squeeze through to the inside, and he's done that, and he's ducking and weaving all the way behind Rafael Gianria. But it's Marco Holzer in the Mantor Racing Porsche who doesn't lead into turn one. It's Matt Griffin, would you believe it, around the outside, who leads. Second place is Rafael Gianria. Third is Marco Holzer, or is he? We've got cars jinking across the escape roads, but into turn three, it's Alexander Taukanitsa Jr. who moves across in the face of Marco Holzer. They're somehow all fighting their way through, but it's still evidently very, very slippery out there. They're 4 or 5 abreast in the midfield, and Griffin has got the advantage. He's looking to pull away. Second place, Jim Rea. Third place is Patrick Pilet. Fourth is Marco Mappelli in the Auto Orlando Sport Porsche, I think it is. So try and pick that car out momentarily. We've also got Maro Engel going brilliantly well in the Mercedes SLS. So that silver Mercedes SLS of Maro Engel has come up very nicely in the early stages, as already Matt Griffin looking to make this escape. It's Juan Manuel Lopez then who moves in second. Patrick Pilet is third. Gia Maria is fourth, and Marco Holzer in fifth, and he needs to improve from fifth, because that is not a championship winning position for him. It is then Nicholas Armindo who is right in behind them in the Porsche. But starting from the back of the grid, here we go, Alvaro Barber and Federico Leo. So much for them to do as well. Manuel Lopez runs a little bit wide, almost gets tagged by Patrick Pilet as they somehow shuffle their way through Kajksa, and Duncan, it clearly is still very slippery on track.
Yeah, it's quite clear to see. It's not easy conditions for everyone at the moment. There you go. It's very greasy.
It's Mario Cordoni who has had that spin, as Matt Griffin leading the way in the M-Tech Ferrari. We've got the team manager of car 2, Juan Manuel Lopez, and car 22, Matt Griffin, being summoned to race control immediately. I just wonder whether there might be a concern about a slightly preemptive start there from the pair of them, because they streaked through at the end of the first lap, leading the way. In third place, we've got Patrick Pilet, but he's got Rafael Gianria ducking and weaving all behind him, and all the cars weaving down the start finish straight. Now that, to me, Duncan, suggests that they're on slick tyres and trying to get some heat into them.
Precisely, it's exactly what it is. Yeah, the prediction to be on slicks, I think, is the correct one, and they're just trying to get as much temperature. Maybe even Griffin has started on wet, and he's
cooked them already.
Already cooked them already. Looks like it's floating around that way. He had such an advantage on that first lap.
And now Juan Manuel Lopez dives to the inside of Matt Griffin, and Griffin slips back into second. Patrick Pilet is going to make that third very, very quickly in the IMSA Performance Macmut Porsche. And then we've got Gia Maria right on his tail as well. And yes, into second place goes Patrick Pilet. We've got Gia Maria, and Nicola Armindo dives to the inside of Marco Holzer into turn 5, who turns around the outside of him. That's Stefano Gattuso, car 77, moving around the outside of the black number 5 car of Alexander Taukanitsa Jr. And yes, Matt Griffin, Duncan, turns across the bows of Rafael Gia Maria. And for Holzer here, he's fighting for the crown, and he doesn't want this frenetic fighting going on ahead of him, as we see now a challenge from Pilet for the lead.
Yeah, he'd much prefer it to be a straightforward, easy, calm race, but it's not going to happen, is it? This is the International GT Open, and it's always exciting. It's a case of staying out of trouble and damage limitation at the moment until it dries out and everyone can find their feet a bit more.
That is very, very tight into Kajksa. Unfortunately, moving aside there is Matt Griffin. So Gia Maria climbs up to third. Fourth is now Marco Holzer. There is Holzer, the number 8 car, on the tail of Rafael Gia Maria. He doesn't want the leaders to escape too far, as into the pit lane comes Marco Mappelli in the Auto Orlando Sport Porsche. Now we're going to see a challenge for the lead here from Pile, who launches the inside of Manuel Lopez. They make contact into the chicane, and Lopez keeps the car pointing in the right direction. Pile is now going to dive to the inside into the final turn, and Patrick Pile, who rides the curbs like the others, is clearly finding the grip here, as is Marco Holzer, who gets a superb run out of the last turn, but the straight line advantage of the Corvette may prevent him from squeezing through, as they still weave and get some heat into their tyres, and all the while they're backed up behind Juan Manuel Lopez. It's going to be a battle on the brakes into the first turn. Lopez hits the brakes as we've got Bernardo Souza trying to swoop around the outside of Maro Engel, who leads the GTS class or rather Armindo leads the GTS class in the Porsche, then Engel second in that Mercedes SLS, as Marco Holzer on the tail of Gianmaria, who in turn is trying to prize his way past Juan Manuel Lopez. They come through turn 3 side by side into turn 4. Gianmaria on the brakes. Does Lopez see him? He moves across him and they make contact again, and Marco Holzer trying to find a way around the outside there in what's becoming increasingly robust dice for second, almost 3 wide into turn 5. It's still Gianmaria who's got his nose ahead. Lopez though back through, he pushes Gianmaria wide, and through goes Holzer into second position. Very nicely judged move from Marco Holzer. Nicola Armindo and Maro Engel also trying to join this scrap, as well as is Jan Seyfarth in the second of those Mercedes SLSs. The all-silver one is Engel, and then the multicoloured one is Seyfarth. And Duncan, well, what an opening to this race.
Incredible, because you had Griffin, what looked like just adapted to conditions better than anyone else, and pulled out a huge lead. But now, looking at his lap time, he's 10 seconds off of the quickest time, so I'm pretty sure he was on wet. But these guys are just gloves off going for it. It's great to see, and you know, Engel's really getting stuck in there as well, and mixing it with the Super GT guys.
Really is. As also Bertrand Baguette trying to squeeze the inside of Jan Seyfarth, and he does so. Baguette in the Aston Martin. Also Stefano Gattuso has joined that scrap. In the meantime, Marco Holzer, though, has picked his way through it and is off in pursuit of Patrick Pile. He's got Nicola Armindo on his tail, then Rafael Gianmaria with Maro Engel. There, Juan Manuel Lopez. We've also got Andrea Rizzoli, who has come up in the bright red Ferraris. We have another look at completely sideways there. One of, I think it was Dominic Baumann in the SLS, and then this moment from Pile. Oh, wow, Manuel Lopez. Thump.
Just a nice little tap. He just locked up there, and it's plain to see that it's very, very slippery still, and there are a few mistakes happening, which is making the racing pretty entertaining to watch.
With Patrick Pile, it's like somebody just said to him at Monza, go have fun, because the last 4 races, he has just been breathtaking out on track. Marco Holzer in second, and if that car stays there, and it is a massive if, that would be enough to give them the crown. Given how things currently are, there is Federico Leo sliding up through the field. We just saw at the front of the shot Alvaro Barber, who has also made good progress. Now, what we haven't alluded to here is the additional time that these cars spend in the pit lane. And coming into yesterday's race, we had the way it works is that if you win your class, you get 15 seconds added to your pit stop time. Second, you get 10, and third, you get 5 seconds, but that can accumulate for up to 3 races, so potentially have a maximum of 45 seconds in the pits. Well, coming to yesterday's race, the Villois Aston Martin, Alvaro Barber and Matteo Malicelli, had an extra 15 seconds to have in the pit lane. They won. They will spend 30 seconds longer in the pits today, whereas the number 4 car, championship leader, Alvaro Barber and Jimmy Bruni, they finished off the podium. They've got no additional time in the pit stop, and the same goes as well for Marco Holzer and Nick Tandy, because they didn't finish the race yesterday, so it really is going to be one that's going to be decided on the track. In the meantime, we've got this ferocious fight going on amongst the foremost of the GTS class runners, and Andrea Rizzoli, well, he really needs to win the GTS class today, because if he can do that with Stefano Pizzari, that would give Pizzari the GTS championship, provided that Michael Dalla Stella and Daniel Zampieri don't finish on the podium. So over the line they come. This is to complete 4 laps of the race, and it's Patrick Pile who leads. Second place is number 8, Marco Holzer. There is Holzer. He's going to try and negotiate on the back markers as Bertrand Baguette's got the run here on Rizzoli into turn 1. Rizzoli defends very stoutly from him. The Aston Martin was astonishingly quick yesterday. Here is Federico Leo in 33rd position, so he's made up 6 places since the start, Duncan, but we are almost 20% of the way into the race.
It's not going to be enough, is it, if it carries on at that rate? He's going to hand over to Bruni, who is the slightly quicker of the 2, so that's going to be interesting to see where he can bring it up to. But I'm just looking at Pilet at the moment. He's flying. He's 1.4 seconds quicker than Holzer, and effectively the same car. So he's relishing these conditions at the moment, and you know, he's doing his usual aggressive driving style, getting as much temperature into the car, and you know, he's just checking out at the moment.
Well, the GTS class being led by Nicola Armendo, as we have a look at Federico Leo, just about picking his way past Martin Lanting, also doing the same to Alan Kalari. And as well, one of the Audi R8s, as we still have this fight going on between Andrea Rizzoli in the red Ferrari, the black Ferrari Stefano Gattuso, and then Jan Seyfarth in the Mercedes SLS. Gattuso, as we mentioned, the reigning GTS champion. Unfortunately, he will be relinquishing that crown today, as we have got Bertram again on the tail of Rafael Giamria. The pair of them ride over the curbs. They're fighting over 5th and 6th, as we have more dramas. Patrick Kuna in the Good Sense Racing Lamborghini gets turned around. I have to say here, as we've got a drive-through penalty for cars 2 and 22. So that is Juan Manuel Lopez and Matt Griffin, both of whom I suspect started on wet tyres, because they've plummeted down the order anyway, and they will slip even further down the pack. Also got the team manager of car 54, Marco Mapelli, summons race control. So over the line goes Alvaro Barber, and he has climbed that car up to 20th position already, so he has moved ahead of 19 rivals. The problem for Barber, though, as we alluded to, Duncan, is going to be that extra 30 seconds in the pits, because that is going to be nigh on insurmountable for his co-driver, Matteo Malicelli.
Yeah, that's a hell of a gap to try and make out of the track.
Oh dear, and Miguel Amaral de Castro into the gravel trap. So his race, if not over, then at least has been fortunately temporarily blighted. Still, we've got this battle between the Corvette and the Aston Martin. We saw this battle as well yesterday, Duncan, in that the Aston Martin was all over the Corvette through the technical section of the circuit, as there we see how the Drivers' Championship looks. And yes, if things stay as they are, Marco Holzer and Nick Tandy would win the crown, but it is going to be very, very tight. And Federico Leo, Jimmy Bruno, they need to try and climb themselves into the points as best they can. And Federico Leo is now up into 24th position as Alvaro Barber scythes his way on through the pack. That's Alvaro Fontes. He just picks his way past. Sorry, there is Leo. He gains another position, so that puts him up into 22nd place, because that was Nicola Caldani, who he moved past in the Ferrari. Federico Leo, though, at least he's got no additional time in the pits, so every advantage that he can give Jimmy Bruni, we know, could be a miracle worker at the wheel of these Ferraris when he needs to be, and this will need to be one of the drivers of his career. Will give you the gap momentarily between Marco Holzer, this man who runs in second and is at the moment the champion-elect, and Federico Leo, and the gap is 50 seconds, Duncan, between Holzer and Leo.
Yeah, that's a very, very big gap that is going to be hard to make up. So he's just got to keep it there, be sensible, not get in a battle with anyone that's going to affect him. So he's just doing a good job at the moment.
However, Jimmy Bruni just needs to drive. If Holzer stays in second, then Federico Leo and Jimmy Bruni, they need to get that car up into 7th position. That will be enough to give them the crown. So it is all to play for. We are already just about 5 minutes away from the opening of the pit stop window. It is a spin there. That is Howard Blank who has rotated. So we are just about 50 minutes into the race. It is Patrick Pilet car 16 who leads the way. Second place is this man, number 8, Marco Holzer. In third place is 99, Nicola Armindo. And in fourth, we have got the immaculate Mercedes of Mara Engel. And then completing the top 5 is Raffaele Giammaria. 35 minutes to go then in the final round of the 2012 International GT Open Championship. And if you've just joined us, well, what a drama we've had before the race. We had a shower about 30 minutes before the race started. The teams then had a 10-minute pit lane open phase to do some inspection laps. Most of them went out, did a couple of laps, changed tyres, and then came to the grid. 2 cars didn't exit the pit lane before the pit lane was closed, and those were the 2 cars at the top of the championship. The number 4 AF Course Ferrari of Federico Leuge and Jimmy Bruni, and then the Aston Martin number 12 Veloz Racing, Alvaro Barber and Matteo Malicelli. We've got a safety car. The safety car is coming out, and for what reason I know not. Just
it will probably be the Ferrari that's stuck in the last chicane.
So the safety car has come out. And well, this serves 2 purposes. It bunches the field up enormously, Duncan, which means that all that advantage that Marco Holzer had there, we see the Ferrari going around again, and then more likely stalling. But it brings, in terms of the championship fight, the gap that Marco Holzer had over Federico Leuge, that was the best part of 50 seconds. That's going to come down to 10, 20 seconds, no more than that. And then the big call is going to be, depending on how long the safety car stays out there, as the marshals get to work removing the Ferrari, depending on how long the safety car stays out there, they may all come flooding into the pits whilst the safety car still circulates, and then the fight will well and truly be on.
Yeah, that's when it gets a bit exciting in the pits. Is, you know, a lot of cars out there, and you're trying to get them all in the pits at the same time, all doing their tyre changes, and people running around. Just hope no one gets hurt. I think that's the biggest issue at that time.
Well, it's been actually, just given the conditions and given the side of the grid, a remarkably clean start to the race. We've had very, very few casualties. So the Ferrari is moved clear. That's the car of Howard Blank and Sandro Montani. And there is the race leader, Patrick Pilet. And this is going to be really frustrating here for Pilet, because his co-driver, Ramon Narak, is a quick drive, but he's not quite at the level of Patrick Pilet. And you'd have to say that in a shootout between those 2 Porsches, over the race duration, the Manthey Porsche with Nick Tandy to take over would maybe have the legs in these particular circumstances. Even so, Patrick Pilet, this weekend, he has just been spectacular. He is such an exciting driver to watch when he's in the mood. So we take another check at the Drivers' Championship. And really, it's all going to come down to where Marco Holzer and Nick Tandy and where Federico Leuge and Jimmy Bruni finish, because we have got all that additional time that will be spent in the pits as a result of their victory yesterday for Alvaro Barber and Matteo Malicelli.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tall order for them to try and make that gap up. So when Tandy hops in it, he knows what he's got to do. He's got to look at in his mirrors and see if Bruni's catching him, getting close at all. But I think Tandy and Holzer, after a pretty disappointing result yesterday with them not even finishing, to be in this position now, I think they would quite happily have taken that even before yesterday's result. So it's all playing into their hands at the moment.
I think we're going to get one more lap behind the safety car. It's just out on the final section of the circuit with lights flashing. It's not, the instant has been cleared. The issue is that the field is so large, they're not actually forming that crocodile at the moment, which is going to be very frustrating for Marco Holzer. He'd have hoped for a bit of a free jump here. As it is, we're likely to have one further lap behind the Infinity safety car. Gives us a good opportunity to talk about next year in the International GT Open, because of course we will be back in 2013, and what a calendar we've got to look forward to, starting on the 27th and 28th of April at the Paul Ricard circuit, the Castellet, before moving on to the Portimao circuit, Algarve, on the 18th and 19th of May. A couple of weeks later, the 1st and 2nd of June, we're at the Nürburgring, and then we end June on the 29th and 30th at the Hungaroring just outside Budapest. GT Open then moves to the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit on the 13th and 14th of July before the August summer break. And battle then resumes on the 7th and 8th of September at Spa, before a month later, the 5th and 6th of October, heading to Monza before we finish 2013, where we are ending the 2012 season here at the Circuit de Catalunya on the 9th and 10th of November. And obviously, we very, very much hope to have your company throughout the 2013 season. Certainly, it's even half as exciting as 2012 has been, then it promises to be very, very special, as we've got Matteo Beretta in the Auto Orlando Sport Porsche having some problems and pulls off the road, and that's a real shame, and that could prolong the safety car intervention here. Beretta, a new teammate for him this weekend in the shape of Wow Ramos, and the Auto Orlando team were up all night on Thursday. Ramos had quite a nasty incident in testing on Thursday. The team rebuilt the car overnight on Thursday to get it ready for testing on Friday, and it's no reward at all for the Auto Orlando Porsche squad to have that car pulling off the road, because like so many of the teams in the championship, Auto Orlando, a team that is very meticulous in its standards of preparations, and really every penny that team has goes in the car. They don't have photos of the drivers in the garage, they don't even have drapings in the garage. Everything goes into that car. They work extremely hard, and it's a great shame to see that car pulling off, as the safety car is going to be in on this lap. I'm pleased to confirm the safety car will be in, and the pit window is also open as well. So we have got plenty of drama to look forward to. Now, I just wonder, Duncan, whether we're going to see Federico Leo ducking into the pits at the earliest opportunity here to pass over to Jimmy Bruni.
It's funny you should say that, because I'm looking out the window here. I can see Jimmy there waiting, arm crossed, looks very relaxed actually. But yeah, whether he'll come in this lap, it looks that way. He's fully ready and waiting.
Jimmy Bruni, a racing driver who competes in professional cycle racing to relax when he's not racing. Unbelievable. He owns a cycling team, and occasionally to keep himself fit, he likes to compete in races with them. So a remarkable athlete, Jimmy Bruni, and a driver who probably many feel never quite got the breaks that he deserved in Formula One, but then has built his reputation as probably the world's foremost Ferrari GT racer. He is an exceptional driver, and Federico Leo, under his tutelage this season, has developed to a very fine competitor as well. So the pace is beginning to build up. The safety car peels in, and Patrick Pilet plants his right foot as they sprint over the start and finish line. And already we've got a couple of cars diving into the pit lane off camera, as Pilet is going to look to try and build up an advantage over Holzer, who's got Armindo and Maro Engel right behind him. Maro Engel in the silver Mercedes, looking to try and pick his way to the inside. The driver changes, there you go, confirmation on the screen that the pit window is open, and Federico Leo, there he is, hasn't come in on this lap. So Leo is going to do another lap out in traffic. He's just in behind at the moment Matt Griffin, who's had a fairly torrid start to the race. He's actually a couple of laps down the order. So just under 28 minutes remaining. So Pilet leads, Marco Holzer second, Nicola Armindo third, and leading the GTS class. We got word that because of that safety car period, the pit window is going to be open for an additional 5 minutes. So that means the pit window closes with 15 minutes left in the race rather than 20. So that, Duncan, another strategic dimension to play in.
Yeah, well, it's something that they can think about, but I think the majority of the guys, well, not all of them, but definitely if we look at Bruni and Leo, they want to get him in the car as soon as possible. Like you say, he's a bit of a miracle worker, and to get him behind the wheel is going to help them. Whereas the Manthey Porsche guys they've got a little bit more of an even partnering with Tandy. So
that'll probably be down to whether they've got fed up with his one-liners in the garage. Nick Tandy is a great company out of the car, as is Marco Holzer, and Tandy is rarely a long way from a quip.
Well, it's certainly very busy down here on the pit lane as the safety car comes in, and so many drivers take advantage of that time to make their changeover and the pit stop for the change of tyres as well. A lot of people now switching onto slicks as the track has been drying out, and we'll now see who takes the lead.
Thanks, Gemma. Getting behind the wheel of that car pretty much at exactly half race distance Rafael Gianmaria and Maro Engel continue on their way. And there is Holzer, who comes to his marks. Nick Tandy ready to get in. In the meantime, off camera, Federico Leo has come in to hand over to Jimmy Bruni. There is Leo, he hops out. Bruni clambers in. Very relaxed there from the AF core squad. They're such a professional team. Still, we've got Andrea Rizzoli, Stefano Catuzzo and Jan Seyfarth having a whale of a time. Busy scrapping with each other. We've got a drive-through penalty for Marco Mappelli for an infringement on exiting the pit lane. He crossed the white line a little bit too prematurely. And now we've got the cars that pitted in last time around being fed back into traffic. The race really is in a state of flux. We're at exactly half-race distance, and it is Patrick Pilet who leads the way. But who will be the 2012 International GT Open champion? As things stand, it is Marco Holzer and Nick Tandy, and I'm looking down the pit lane. Holzer and Tandy have been released. Jimmy Bruni heads out on track now. You're seeing the battle at the moment, though, with Manuel Lopez, Daniel Zampieri. There is Maro Engel, and Engel currently running third. Just in front of him is the second place car. That's Nicola Armindo in the Porsche. And they've been dealt a pretty rough blow with the traffic as Engel tries to dive ahead of Armindo, who jumps across the curbs. And be interested to see where Armindo rejoins. He rejoins from whence he left the track. I'm sure that Engel might have a view on that, because he seems to have gained a slight advantage. And then the car at the head of that train, that's Daniel Zampieri, who is the GTS Championship leader. And as things stand, looking well set to claim that title alongside Michael Dalla Stella. But for Armindo, he really wants to get past Zampieri as quickly as possible. There is Rafael Gianmaria, who currently runs in fourth position, because of course we've got all the cars coming in to the pits as we see Alvaro Barber elbowing Alexander Taukanitsa Jr. aside, and Barber, a bit between his teeth, he is just trying to do everything that he can, as Patrick Pilet has set the fastest lap of the race. So Pilet is charging, and this really plays for the race overall, Duncan, into the hands of the IMSA Performance Matmut team, because it means Pilet can go 5 minutes deeper than he normally would with this extension of the pit window, and that could just give them a decisive advantage.
Yeah, if he can build up that gap just a little bit more, then yeah, they could well hold on to that lead. He's driving so well. You know, you can see using every inch of the track, and he pulled out 2.5 seconds that lap on Armindo in second. So really in a league of his own at the moment.
The gaps that we're going to be looking for is the number of cars between Nick Tandy and Jimmy Bruni. That is the gap to look for. And just to clarify for you, if Nick Tandy and Marco Holzer win the race, then Jimmy Bruni must finish in 5th position. If Nick Tandy and Marco Holzer are second, then Jimmy Bruni must finish in 7th, and that would give Bruni the crown if he was to claim those positions. And so for Tandy and Holzer, the spoiler here is that they would have expected to have it, being able to keep Pilet in the rack in sight, that Nick Tandy might be able to overhaul Ram on the rack at that stage of the race. Now that's looking less likely, given the electrifying pace that we are seeing from Patrick Pilet, who's on the tail of the Aston Martin. And into the pit lane comes the other Aston Martin. That is Alvaro Barber to hand over to Matteo Malicelli. And Barber has driven astonishingly from the very back of the grid to bring that car, Duncan, up to 13th by the pit stops.
Impressive job, trying hard. You know, obviously a bit of a mistake from the team to miss that slot at the beginning of the race. But yeah, he's just doing everything, or did everything he could there, and he's handing over to his teammate, and hopefully he'll do the same.
Patrick Pilet continuing this fine vein of form. Lovely shot there into the cockpit. You can see him working the wheels. On the tail of Maxime Martin, who has already had his pit stop and come out effectively a lap down. And this isn't ideal for Pilet, because Martin is not dissimilar in terms of absolute outright pace as Pilet takes a big bite of curb. Now, what sort of lap times are we going to be seeing from Nick Tandy here? Already he's doing the number 8 Manto Racing Porsche's best lap of the race. He's currently in 23rd position, but obviously there are a lot of cars up the road ahead of him. And Tandy has gone through and set the fastest lap of 1 minute 50.2. And Duncan, that's 1.2 seconds faster than Patrick Pilet.
Yeah, and Pilet was on it as well. So Nick's fully settled in nicely there. He just went past us, so he's got a nice clear bit of track. So this could play into his hands a little bit and catch and make that gap and hopefully compete for that race win that they need.
Patrick Pilet leaps over the curbs once more, and he is going to head on for another lap. Now, Jimmy Bruni on his outlap did a 1:52.0, but the lap times are irrelevant. It's the number of cars between Nick Tandy and Jimmy Bruni. So those are cars 8 and 4 that we're going to need to watch for as the race progresses. In the meantime, emerging essentially a lap down is Matteo Malicelli in the Aston Martin as Patrick Pilet moves around the outside of him, runs out a road. He's going to have, well, obviously a jump over the rumble strips because it's Patrick Pilet. As here is Nick Tandy, then the fastest man on track at the moment. The fast lap of the race, incidentally, is actually in the hands of Andrea Montermini in the Vallorba course Ferrari. The only driver to get beneath the 1:50 barrier. And Nick Tandy is now going to have to drive as he's never driven before. This. Welcome to the Circuit de Catalunya for the final rounds of the 2012 International GT Open, and a very warm welcome to everybody who's joining us for the first time on ESPN and ESPN America. We'll take an update from the pit lane from Gemma Scott.
Marco, the track obviously is drying out up there. What's it like?
The beginning, the track was in the middle, not wet and not dry, so it was a difficult condition. Then I had a problem with the engine and the car stopped, and another driver touched me, so I broke the wheels. Then I come in for testing something else, but the engine stopped definitely.
Matteo Malicelli's not really getting enough clear air to run some clean laps.
Yeah, it's worth a think that, because he's got the Aston in front. He's obviously of a similar lap time, and although he doesn't seem to be getting held up too much, he's not lapping quite how he was before. So yeah, there we go. Look, ducking in now. Good call, Ben.
So into the pits comes Patrick Pilet. That is to hand over to Ramon Narak. Pilet comes to the pit lane mandatory speed limit, rumbles down. Narak is poised, ready and waiting. Such a professional team as well, runs Pilet and Narak. Considerable success in the past in Le Mans and all manner of international sports car racing. So Pilet hits the brakes, car comes to a halt, door open almost before it comes to a stop as Narak leaps into the cockpit.
Quick change of tyre pressures.
But no change of tyres, so they're obviously pretty happy with the balance of that car, aren't they? They're going to be...
I actually watched a few of the guys. Not many of them made a tyre change, so they're obviously feeling quite comfortable with that.
I think it's also probably because that would take them outside the minimum pit stop time. Also, they don't want to spend any more time in the pits. They absolutely need to. So Nick Tandy still charging on his way. Over the line he comes, and he is beautifully positioned in terms of space on the track, although Ramon Narak emerges from the pits just ahead of him, so Narak comes out in the lead, but Tandy will hope to overhaul the Porsche as quickly as he possibly can. Drinking through the opening sequence of turns, and what Tandy cannot afford to happen here is to get embroiled in a battle with Ramon Narak. I suspect that after the pit stops have all shuffled themselves out, they will be running first and second in this race. Nick Tandy lights ablaze on the tail of Ramon Narak, the two immaculately prepared Porsches, admittedly with very different setup philosophies. The IMSA Performance Mapbook Porsche, that is the red, white and blue car. The setup philosophy throughout the year has always been where the car's going to be, the checker flag, whereas the Manthey team may be a little bit more aggressive in terms of pushing the boundaries, really seeing what they can extract from that car in terms of a single lap pace. Riding over the curbs, then we have got Narak from Tandy. We've got a raft of cars now coming in at the very back end of the pit window. And still Nick Tandy showing himself in the mirrors of Ramon Narak, desperate to find a way through, but he can't afford to take a risk here that would see the cars tangling with each other and maybe dropping out of the race. And it's also now going to be somewhat dependent on where Jimmy Bruni is in proceedings. It really is a race where we have no idea who is going to come through and claim the title. But for Nick Tandy, the higher a finishing position he can get, the best opportunity he has got for winning that crown. With all the cars up ahead them on the road are into the pits. So out of the final turn and completing the 16th lap of the race. Ramon Narak and Nick Tandy, and Tandy in the slipstream behind Narak. Is he going to be able to try and make the move into the first turn? Yes, he dives out of the slipstream. He's going to be very late on the brakes here. Nick Tandy tries to force the issue. Oh, that's very, very tight as Ramon Narak turns across his bows, and Nick Tandy couldn't fight his way through. And Duncan, one of the beauties of multi-mark GT racing is that the cars have got different performance characteristics around the track. The problem is when you're up against a car that is very, very similar to yours, it's where do you make that passing move?
Exactly. It's effectively the same car. It'll have the same strengths, same weaknesses. So the difference is the driver. So Nick's a pretty brave driver, aggressive, but he can't afford to be too aggressive. You know, he's got a championship to think about. So he's going to sit there, wait for the best opportunity, and then he will go for it sooner rather than later.
I'd also suspect the delegation from Manthey Racing are down in the IMSA Performance pits right now, saying, please let our man go through, because now Ramon Narak is evidently slowing Nick Tandy. It's preventing Tandy from running at his optimal pace, and is Tandy going to try and force the move into Lakaika? He's right underneath the rear spoiler again of Ramon Narak, and is he going to look to the inside? Well, Narak is busy defending here. He moves across, he covers the inside line. As the pit window comes to a close, we're 15 minutes away from the end of the 2012 International GT Open Championship, but we still have no idea whether it's going to be Nick Tandy and Marco Holzer, or Jimmy Bruni and Federico Leo who's going to win the title. Almost at the end of the 18th lap of the race, and Narak riding the curbs. Nick Tandy's got to be careful here, because Narak, Duncan, is really slowing the car into the corners, and Tandy carrying a lot more corner entry speed. He doesn't want to risk tagging.
No, you can't afford to do that. It's a different driving style here. You've got Narak, who is kind of more aggressive on the way into the corner. As Nick, is he going to make it stick?
And he dives the inside, and through he goes. Nick Tandy takes the lead of the race from Ramon Narak into turn one, and Olof Manthey and Marco Holzer on the pit wall. Their blood pressure is probably breaking all medical records at the moment, because this is unbelievably stressful for them. But what we need to know is, where is Jimmy Bruni? And Jimmy Bruni is in 13th at the moment. So Bruni's in 13th. He needs to get that car up to 7th. And that is doable, I would say, for Jimmy Bruni. It's an ask, but yes, that is eminently doable for Jimmy Bruni, because a lot of those cars are only a couple of seconds up the road ahead of him. So we could see, despite all the efforts from Nick Tandy and Marco Holzer, that Jimmy Bruni and Federico Leo may claim the victory in the championship, although Holzer and Tandy could win the final race of the year on the road. Now through Kamsa, heading down to Lakaika, have another look at this last run through chicane. Ramon Narak says anything Patrick Pilet can do, I could match. 2 wheels in the Porsche. Shows they build them strong in Stuttgart, doesn't it?
Yeah. German build quality again coming through.
And there is Jimmy Bruni, who is scything up through the field. There's contact ahead of him, and 2 of the Spanish GT cars come together, and it's the Ginetta that gets pirouetted into the wall, and Bruni incredibly lucky to avoid that. It's Louis Villalba, and that means that Bruni has gained several places. I make it that Bruni is now up into 8th position, as unfortunately limping around is the Good Sense Lamborghini. Take another look at this, and well, had that Lamborghini fired in the other direction, Jimmy Bruni's championship charge would have ended there and then. As it is, it was just a case of 3 cars trying to fit into a piece of track that wasn't really 3 cars wide.
And there is debris over there. His rear wing came off, so hopefully not, but you know, they'll be able to clear it. I don't think we'll end up with another safety car, will we?
Well, Jimmy Bruni across the line in 10th position. So it's still on here for Bruni. His next target is Lars Stugemo, who is a second up ahead of him. We're watching battle a little bit lower down the order with, in fact, far up the order, Klaus Hummel and Philip Petter, as we see Miguel Ramos making the move with Alexander Town-Knitzer Senior into turn 1. Does he get the Corvette stopped in time? Yes, he does. We have got then just over 10 minutes remaining in the final race of the season, and already Stugmo's been passed by Jimmy Bruni, so that is 9th place for Bruni.
Federico, it's a lot of pressure for this race.
Yeah, we had a problem, really mistake. We didn't understand that we waited too much to go out of the pit lane for the decision of the tires, and we started for the pit. Now we are trying to take the 5th position to win the championship. It will be very hard.
The victory in the championship going to Stefano Bizzarri, because Michael Dalla Stella and Daniel Zampieri are currently well out of the points in the GTS, and Bizzarri is leading the way. So the championship, well, last night over dinner we all thought that it may go in a couple of quite clear directions. As it is, everything is still very much in flux. We've got 20% of the race remaining. As Marco Zannottini, let's hope he doesn't skittle anybody. He doesn't, oh, he does just get tagged by Kenneth Hare. That's the problem with the slick grass. No real stopping power. As at the back of the shot there, you see Jimmy Bruni. We've got a drive-through penalty for car 99, and that is the Nicola Armindo Anthony Belchoir's car, but they're already out of the running. Jimmy Bruni is up into 8th. So Bruni is in 8th. And Bruni, because now Nick Tandy leads the way, Jimmy Bruni needs to get that car into 5th position. Can he do it? Well, I think he probably can, because let's have a look at the cars up in front of him. Jimmy Bruni's 8th. His next target is Miguel Ramos in the Corvette. He should be able to pass Ramos. Then he has got David Touchebon, one of the French drivers, in his Porsche, and then Klaus Hummel in the Mercedes SLS, who sits in 5th. Now, all of those cars are eminently passable for Jimmy Bruni. It's just a case of when he's going to be able to pick his moments, and can he do it? As we take a look at Stefano Bizzarri, who leads the GTS race, and I believe is positioned to win the GTS Championship as well as a result of that, as we have a look at Joel Comathius passing Duncan Cameron into the chicane. Comathius, a previous double champion in the International GT Open, so he knows a thing or two about piloting these cars at pace. Looking to try and pick out where Jimmy Bruni is in the track as we look at Anthony Belchoir, so unfortunately in that white and blue Porsche is going to be making drive-through penalty fairly shortly. And we've got just behind him Maxime Martin in the Aston Martin, who is trying to pick his way up through the order as well. I'm sure the team will have been on the radio saying, don't worry about Belchoir's up ahead of you, because he will be in the pits next time around. We've got 8 minutes and 20 seconds remaining, and Jimmy Bruni is in 7th position. He's gained 1 place on this lap due to problems for Touchebon in the Porsche, who comes across line in 11th. So Bruni, he needs to get 2 more positions, and here is the battle. He's on the tail of Miguel Ramos, and there's Klaus Hummel. So Hummel slowing through turn 1 and 2, so that promotes Jimmy Bruni to 6th. And now, if he's able to get past Miguel Ramos, that would give him and Federico Leo the International GT Open crown. Absolutely unbelievable racing. But we saw at the Hungaroring that Miguel Ramos, when he puts his mind to it, is a very difficult man to overtake. And crucially here, Duncan, that Chevrolet Corvette in a straight line has got a top speed advantage on the Ferrari.
It has, but Bruni is in a bit of a class of his own in this car. He's gonna make this move fairly soon, and just get it done. I mean, it's a hell of a drive to come from where they have. I'm a little bit shocked that they've made it this time, and it's a bit of a shame for Nick, because you know, Tandy and Holzer have had a bit of disappointment yesterday, and to potentially be able to, or being in a good position at the beginning of the race to come away with the win and potentially the championship. Now it's looking unlikely, isn't it?
Well, you're talking as if it's a done deal. I don't think it is. Miguel Ramos, when he wants to, we saw yesterday nobody could get past him. We saw at the Hungaroring nobody could get past him, and he could just be the Timo Glock to the Lewis Hamilton Felipe Massa characters, if you want to use that analogy, because at the moment he's frustrated Bruni for this past lap, and Bruni may have to go all out on the brakes here into turn 1. So along the start finish straight goes the mobile earthquake in the shape of the Chevrolet Corvette of Miguel Ramos. Jimmy Bruni on his tail, half a second back. 6 minutes and a quarter remaining in the race, and Bruni looks to the inside of Ramos, but he's not quite close enough. Does Ramos get the car stopped in time for turn 1? Yes, he does. Bruni trying to close onto his tail. The problem here, Duncan, is Bruni cannot gamble all. He can't afford to tangle with Ramos.
No, he really can't. And
there we see it. It would be a tie on points if things stay exactly as they are, and then it is back counted to victories, and Nick Tandy and Marco Holzer have got 4 to their credit. Federico Leo and Jimmy Bruni have got 2, and that would be enough to give them the title.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff. But yeah, maybe I was giving up too easily, because it's not over, is it? Ramos is looking fairly strong in the middle sector, actually. And you know, maybe have a look at Bruni sliding the car around. Maybe the tyres are going a bit. It's not over yet. You know, I'll take it back.
I did really deserve to actually had 3 wins this year. Tandy and Holzer have 4, but of course, things there's there. That would be the 5th win for Tandy and Holzer. This is what a finish to the season we've got, and we've got just 5 minutes to go. Nick Tandy leads the race. 2nd place is Ramon Narak. 3rd place in the GTS class is Stefano Pizzari, and that would be enough to give Pizzari the GTS title. 4th is Philip Petra, and then 5th is Miguel Ramos in this battle with Jimmy Bruni.
And if you look back at the last few laps, I mean, he caught him at a rate of knots, 1.6, 1.8 seconds a lap, and then as he got closer, you know, maybe the car in front is just affecting the way the car's handling, and he went to 2/10 and then half a tenth the last lap. It's close.
It is heart-stopping stuff, this, here at the Circuit de Catalunya. Thank you for joining us for the most possible dramatic end to the International GT Open season of 2012. And Bruni, again, fancying his chances into turn 1, but he's not quite able to do it. Instead, what he hopes to do is maybe force Ramos just to miss the apex there. And of all the sections on the circuit, Duncan, it's turns 1, 2 and 3, for me, where Ramos seems the most tentative.
Yeah, he pulls away for the rest of the lap, so there's only a few places where Bruni can really go for it and make it stick.
Last time around, they set to within 0.002 of a second an identical lap time. Here is the race leader, Nick Tandy. You know what, though? Ramon Narak fancies this. He's coming back at Tandy, and if Narak was to get past Tandy, that would give the title to Jimmy Bruni and Federico Leo. And Nick Tandy will be screaming on the radio, saying, whatever you do, don't let Narak through. So we've got these 2 battles on track. One for the lead of the race overall between the 2 Porsches. It's the Manto Racing Porsche. That is the green and yellow car of Nick Tandy, just ahead of Ramon Narak in the Imps Performance Macbook Porsche, the red, white and blue car. And then we have got this fight between Miguel Ramos and Jimmy Bruni for 5th and 6th. But if Jimmy Bruni were able to get through, that would be enough to give him and Federico Leo the crown. Replay of the chicane, and Bruni really trying. And it's those hard braking areas, isn't it, Duncan, where the Ferrari just seems to be maybe a little bit better poised than the Chevrolet Corvette, heading down into turn 1. And we're into the penultimate lap of the race, by the way. It's just 2 more laps that they've got to hold on here. 2 more laps here at the Circuit de Catalunya.
It's nerve-wracking stuff. I don't think I've been this nervous when I'm racing. I mean, this is... I couldn't call it, I have to say.
And a change for 3rd, by the way. Philip Petra has moved up ahead of Stefano Pizzari, but from Pizzari's point of view, that is not a concern, because Daniel Zampieri is still off the course podium. There is Marco Holzer, who it's probably safe to say he's not enjoying himself very much at the moment, because the worst thing as well, Duncan, when you're the first driver, is it's out of your hands. At least Nick Tandy's got the race to concentrate on here. He just knows he can do the job, and it's in his hands. For Marco Holzer, he's done all that he could do.
Yeah, he's done absolutely everything he could do, and it's the worst bit because all us racing drivers are control freaks. We don't like being driven. We don't like doing things that aren't in our control. So when someone else is out there doing it, it's a tough one, because it's totally out of your hands.
Ramon Narak riding shotgun at the moment behind Nick Tandy. Tandy, well, there's less than a lap time left in the race here. What we need to see is whether Miguel Ramos is still clear of Jimmy Bruni. I'm looking out into the distance. Yes, he is. We see him on shot. So Miguel Ramos has still got Bruni behind him, but Bruni has a super run through Kamsa, and this could be the challenge from Jimmy Bruni into La Caixa. Does he feel brave enough on the brakes? Oh, Miguel Ramos is still just ahead of Bruni, who closes that gap down. It's a lap and a half for Miguel Ramos to hold on here as they head out of La Caixa. As about to start the final lap of the race, we have got Nick Tandy and Ram on the rack. They still circulate in tandem. Through they go and into the last lap here at the Circuits Catalunya in Barcelona. And who is going to be the champion? Bruni goes to the move on Miguel Ramos, and they go side by side through the chicane. And Bruni gets edged out by Ramos through the final turn, and Bruni had to go for it. He did, he launched the inside, but has Ramos been compromised onto the front straight? Over the start of finish line they go. We're into the last lap of the race. Absolutely unbelievable stuff. Surely Bruni's going to challenge into turn one. They come down towards the first turn, and again Bruni looks to the inside, has to use his judgment, and it means, Duncan, that this could be the challenge again into that chicane on the last lap.
From wide.
And Bruni's got a problem. Bruni slows, he's made a mistake, just pushing too hard, and he drops back from the tail of Miguel Ramos, and that means that if things stay as they are, Holzer and Tandy will win the crown on races one. Unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable, Duncan, as we are half a lap away from the checker flag. Let's have another look at this.
He's gone for that absolute dive, and it was kind of done, but he's caught the curb, which has chucked him wide, and then they've just both launched the chicane.
And he's a lucky boy, actually, that Ramos didn't say, forget that, I'm turning across.
Yeah,
because that would have been game over. So, the clock has ticked to zero. Nick Tandy is 1/3 of a lap away from the International GT Open crown, with Marco Holzer and Manthey Racing. The team watching on the pit wall. Holzer can't bear to watch. He clasps his hands, but the worst thing for them is they won't know until 25 seconds or so after Tandy comes through whether or not they won the time. So into the final turn then comes Nick Tandy for the Manthey Racing Porsche team. He is going to win his 5th race of the year. So over the line goes Nick Tandy. Ram on the rack is second, but what about Jimmy Bruni and Miguel Ramos?
He's not close enough.
Yes, he is. We've got a problem. We've got Philip Petter, who's slowing into the final chicane. Philip Petter in the Kessel Racing Ferrari was very, very slow into the final chicane. So it's Ramos who's going to come through third, and Jimmy Bruni's in 4th. Philip Petter's backed off, and Jimmy Bruni comes across the line in 4th position, and he takes the crown. Absolutely unbelievable. The AF Course Ferrari of Jimmy Bruni overtook Philip Petter into the final chicane, and he takes 4th position, and that gives him the championship, as Philip Petter in the Kessel Racing Ferrari slowed on the last lap, and Federico Leo and Jimmy Bruni are the champions of the 2012 International GT Open. Absolutely heartbreaking for Manthey Racing, Nick Tandy and Marco Holzer. And how much drama could you possibly expect to see? That was an unbelievable end to the race. So Bruni did do it, he did enough, and he has won the crown. Yes, Philip Petter and Stefano Bizzarri both lost places on that last lap. So the AF Course Ferrari of Stefano Bizzarri in the GTS class and Philip Petter the Kessel Racing Ferrari both slipped through. It enables the AF Course Ferrari then of Federico Leo and Jimmy Bruni to come through, take 4th and win the crown by 3 points.
That was a little bit odd, because I'm looking out of the commentary box, I can see the last few corners, and as they went into it, it was all the other way around. So it must have all kicked off at the chicane, and Bruni got through.
He did.
Crazy. Well, here we go.
Yes,
look.
there we see, and he dives through at the chicane. Philip Petter sees him coming, doesn't move across him. There is Bizzarri, who also dropped back, and I make it that Bizzarri has done enough. It's going to be very, very tight, in fact, as to whether or not he has claimed the GTS championship. Marco Holzer being consoled there by Patrick Pilet as they walk down the pit lane. So let's take a look at the final results. It was the win, nonetheless, for Marco Holzer and Nick Tandy. 2nd place, a super drive from Ram on the rack and Patrick Pilet. 3rd place went to Miguel Ramos and Raffaele Giammaria. 4th, Federico Leo and Jimmy Bruni. That gave them the title. 5th was Philip Petter. 6th, Stefano Bizzarri. Andrea Rizzoli. 7th, Maxime Martin and Bertrand Baguette. In 8th place, Anthony Beltoise and Nicolas Armindo. 9th, great drive from the Talcanitzers, senior and junior, and then completing the top 10, Alvaro Barber and Matteo Malicelli, as Nick Tandy brings the car to a halt. Part firm out of our shot, we take a look at the rest of the classification. Daniel Zampieri and Michael Dalla Stella down in 17th. Need to see the classification there as to whether or not they have been pipped at the post for the GTS Championship. The fastest lap, by the way, went to the Maxime Martin and Bertrand Baguette GTS Aston Martin. Again, a race very, very low on attrition. We had, in the end, some 35 cars making it to the checker flag. And here is the Drivers' Championship, the win for Federico Leo and Jimmy Bruni. Second place, Nick Tandy and Marco Holzer. Third for Alvaro Barbara, Matteo Malicelli and Rafael Gianria and Miguel Ramos. That last lap shuffle was enough to give them fourth in the standings, just pipping Juan Manuel Lopez and Andrea Montermini, who finish in fifth. In terms of the Super GT Championship, there's even closer, just a point between Leo and Bruni from Tandy and Holzer. The rest of the order as it was. But what about the GTS standings? It's going to be incredibly tight, and it is just the win for Daniel Zampieri and Michael Dalla Stella from Stefano Bizzarri. So Bizzarri couldn't quite do it. Zampieri and Dalla Stella, the GTS champions, with Marco Mappelli and Archie Hamilton in third position. Have to say, Duncan, that is one of the most remarkable motor races I've ever seen.
Same here. It was an amazing finish to it, and I didn't see that coming. Just the two Ferrari guys in front of Bruni were tussling, and it's obviously held them up and helped Bruni seal the championship. So no, they kept going. Fair play. They started from the pit lane, and to bring it home in fourth overall, starting from the pit lane, is a pretty impressive result just in itself.
So, well, notwithstanding anything else, it has been an absolutely fantastic drive from Nick Tandy and Marco Holzer today, but also for Ramon Arac and Patrick Pilet. And Nick Tandy looks absolutely devastated, because I think, for me, Duncan, there is absolutely nothing worse than doing everything you need to do to take the crown, and then factors outside of your control essentially mean that you don't claim the title after you've crossed the finish line. Because Jimmy Bruni had a superb last lap. He was able to gain those places, and that was enough by just a solitary position to give him the championship. There is Jimmy Bruni, all smiles as he works in through Parc Fermé, shaking hands with the family. And, well, across the whole season, Duncan, there have been so many standout performers, but Jimmy Bruni has been one of them.
Well, he's a star, isn't he? He knows how to drive these cars. He's been driving them for a few years now, and if you were to bet on anyone to deliver on a championship deciding round, then it would be him, wouldn't it? And he's done that. So, yeah, happy for them. It's obviously a shame for Nick, and he did a brilliant job today. It just shame the car broke down yesterday, if only and but and all that.
You have to say that the International GT Open have got the formula right. We have had a titanic championship scrap over the last 16 races. Coming to the final race of the year, we still had 3 cars that could win it. We still, after the checkered flag, had 2 cars that could win the title. It doesn't get any better than that. And obviously, we really hope that you have enjoyed all the action with us here on www.live.gtopen.net.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's the second year that the GT Open is a win for in the last lap. I was very excited. Very good work of everyone and perfect.
You drove a fantastic race. You really put in such a good performance. I really feel for you right now.
I came across the line and the team said we are the champions, and then I think the positions have changed on the last lap.
Yeah.
It's been such a long year. We've had so many wins, but ultimately this means nothing really. The championship is why we're here, and yeah, I'm really disappointed. But congratulations to the AF Course team.
Did you enjoy that? Firstly.
Yeah, it was great. Very special condition at the beginning, very slippery on slick tires. but we managed to keep the car on track, and then Maxime did a good job, a very good job. The safety car killed us a little bit. We had 30 seconds more handicap than the others in the pits, so safety car was not good, but at the end we still finished P2, so it's good.
A fantastic debut in GT Open. Are we going to see you guys back here next year?
We hope so. Maybe. All the time we drive together, we have a podium. So maybe we're next year for sure.
Congratulations, boys, champions.
Yes, we won the championship, so it's really fantastic because it's my first year that in GT Hub, so I'm really happy, and we won for 1 point, so it's really difficult to drive, but we won, me with my teammates, so it's a fantastic team, it's fantastic people, and we won it.
You can go and celebrate now.
This is a beautiful day, beautiful year, and we
don't say that you love me because it's natural, but you can say whatever.
That definitely wasn't the ending that you wanted to the season. Talk to us.
Everybody has some good luck and everybody has some bad luck, and today the bad luck was with the AF Corsa Ferrari and the Villois Aston. They get caught at the end of the pit lane. We've had lots of bad luck during the season, and this was their time. But then I think everybody can see, you know, that the race was a good race, it was a fair race, and then at the end the championship is turned around by matters outside of our control, which of course now we are very upset with. It's like we are racing against half of the grid, not just one car. But yeah, we showed today that we did the best job. Marco did a super job in the first stint, and yeah, we're just upset that we didn't win. But when you fight against half the field and not one car, it's impossible.
It certainly is a championship that, even on Twitter now, people are saying that you guys deserved it.
Yeah, I have to say it's really hard now for me. We lost it in the last corner. We already was thinking that we are the champions because we had a really tough day yesterday with DNF. Yeah, we got a good start. Nick did a perfect job today. I would say we have the best team, the best mechanics, the best team boss, the best brand of the car, and yeah. But still we are upset with the second place in the championship because where we went over the line, we were a champion, and yeah. But we won the last race. I think next year is coming really quickly and we give everything. But yeah, now it's really hard to, you know.
Well, that's certainly very close racing. And Duncan, from a driver's point of view, how sore are Nick and Marco feeling now?
Yeah, they're going to be feeling that one. It wasn't the easiest thing to cope with, but they did a good job. They did all they could do. They won the race, but yeah, they're not going to sleep too well after that one.
A great drive from them, but like you say, very disappointing. And Ben, you've been here throughout the entire season. Has that played out how you would expect?
Well, at the start of the year, Nick Tandy-Marcoles had dominated at the first meeting of the season. The others have played catch-up all year. But to have such a close race today, we weren't expecting that. When Nick and Marco retired yesterday, we thought that was it. The Ferrari was going to win. But then they missed the pit lane closing. They started 38th on the grid, overtook 34 cars to finish in 4th. Remarkable drive from Jimmy Bruni and Federico Leo. But then Nick Tandy, Marco Holzer, they did everything they could. They won the race. You can't ask more than that. Just pure drama.
And they thought they were champions as they crossed the line. I mean, it really was that close.
Well, it reminded me of the year Lewis Hamilton won the Formula 1 World Championship when Felipe Massa thought he was champion and then Hamilton came through 30 seconds later to win the crown. It was identical to that, and you just can't ask for more than that. 40 cars on the grid, racing throughout the full 50 minutes, and then the title being decided after the checker flag.
It certainly is the closest GT racing we've seen, a real spectacular race.
Absolutely fantastic racing and action throughout the field. I mean, it's probably one of the best motor races I've ever seen because from before the race started with the pit lane being closed, all the overtaking, all the drama, it's perfect motor racing.
It certainly is. Thank you very much, boys. And I hope you've enjoyed our little taster of the International GT Open here on ESPN. We'll see you again next time.